Please make sure the loan gets repaid. While I was at work, an unexpected email landed in my inbox. When I reached out to Greg in a rush, he spoke calmly, as though nothing were wrong. Sorry about this, but I've fallen for someone else. I've decided to start a new life with her. He went on to explain that he intended to take the luxury car we had recently purchased, financed through a loan in my name. Despite my pleas, Greg brushed me off, ended the call, and became unreachable. In the end, he vanished with his mistress, leaving behind a heavy debt for me to shoulder. As the mother of a 10-year-old boy, I had never imagined being abandoned in such an unfair way. I felt stunned, empty, and directionless. My name is Hannah. I'm 35 years old, the same age as my husband, Greg. Together we had raised our bright son, Ryan, who had shown unusual intelligence from an early age, reading articles online and asking thoughtful questions far beyond his years. Greg, in contrast, had always been unstable, drifting from one job to another. I worked full-time to secure our future, and though Greg had managed to hold steady employment for 3 years, his record gave me little peace of mind. Lately, he had been talking about making memories together, so we decided to buy a $35,000 camper van. Because Greg's credit history wouldn't pass the finance company's review, I signed the loan in my own name. On the long-awaited delivery day, instead of celebrating, I received Greg's blunt email. Since the van was under my name, he would take it off my hands and leave me responsible for the repayments. Confused and shaken, I called him at once. He answered only to confess, I've fallen for another woman. What started as a fling has become serious. I'm going to start a new life with her. Goodbye. He even mentioned the divorce papers we had argued about before, saying he would file them soon. Then he hung up. That was the moment the betrayal sank in. Afterward, every attempt to contact him went unanswered. When I checked the drawer where we had once kept those papers, they were gone. What remained for me was nothing but a $35,000 debt in my name. Emails and calls went ignored. Meanwhile, Ryan noticed my distracted state. After dinner, he asked softly, Mom, what's wrong? You haven't been eating. Are you okay? I tried to brush it off, just tired. But Ryan, sharp as always, said, When people lie, they look up to the right. Lying's bad. Dad hasn't been home in 3 days. Did something happen between you two? Startled, I realized I could no longer hide the truth. I explained everything. Ryan listened calmly and said, That sounds like Dad. I already guessed something like this would happen. Aren't you sad? I knew he must have been hurting, even if he appeared collected. Silently, I apologized to him in my heart, but my body betrayed my stress. At work, during a training session, I collapsed. When I regained consciousness, I was in a hospital bed. The doctor recommended further tests, then informed me I needed urgent surgery. As tears rolled down my cheeks, Ryan rushed into the room, terrified. Mom, is it serious? You're not going to die, right? I forced a smile. Of course not. I'd never leave you. Relieved, Ryan admitted the school had called him about my hospitalization. Despite his maturity, he was still just a 10-year-old boy. I resolved then and there to recover for his sake. After surgery and a month in the hospital, I returned home, only to find a demand letter in the mailbox for the van's loan repayment. I assumed payments had been automatically deducted, but when I checked my account, the balance, once $20,000, had dropped to just $33.90. Greg had emptied everything. With no camper van to sell, no income due to my illness, and no way to reach him, despair pressed down harder. Ryan, noticing my pale face, touched my forehead. You don't have a fever, but you look unwell. Are you sick again? I told him the truth. Physically, I'm fine, but your father not only took the van, he drained all our savings. I can't work right now, and we have no money. Ryan's eyes filled with determination. Then I'll deliver newspapers. I'll look online for work I can do. We'll figure this out. Encouraged by his resolve, I forced myself to smile. I'm sorry for worrying you. You're right, it's not the time to give up. I'll change my mindset and do everything I can. Ryan smiled back, then added something that took me by surprise. Let's make a plan to get the van back from Dad. It's in your name, isn't it? But what do we do about it then? Maybe we can... Ryan suddenly offered an idea so unexpected that I couldn't believe such a thought had even crossed his mind. I honestly have no idea where your father is, I admitted. Then let's check my phone, he replied calmly. A month earlier, during a family hiking trip, Ryan, usually so reliable, had gotten turned around on the trail. Concerned, we'd purchased a simple children's phone on a friend's suggestion and installed a GPS app that both Greg and I could monitor. Thanks to that, Ryan could now track locations in real time. Look, he said, holding it up. Dad's been moving all over the place. I frowned. But even if we find him, what if he just mutters something vague and slips away again? Ryan only smiled, eyes gleaming with mischief. Don't worry, I already set things up. What did you just say? I asked, startled. To my shock, Ryan had acted on his own while I'd been recovering in the hospital, and his cleverness left me speechless. How could a child of mine be this sharp? He had even uncovered the existence of Greg's mistress. All right then, Ryan said firmly. Let's teach Dad, the man who betrayed us, a proper lesson. I nodded. Fine, let's start the plan right now. Together, mother and son braced ourselves. With Ryan at my side, I thought, I'm invincible. Bring it on, anywhere, anytime. 3 days later, my phone rang. It's me. A strained voice said, Please, you have to help. Who is this? I asked coolly. Don't play games. It's your husband. The police are questioning me about you. At this rate, they might drag me to the station. Help me! Oh, just wait a bit, I replied. Ryan and I went straight to the location. To my surprise, Greg was in a forest park not far from our home, standing beside his car as police questioned him. He looked utterly lost. I sighed, then asked the officers for privacy, explaining that we needed to talk as a couple. They agreed and stepped aside. Greg, clearly embarrassed by the attention, hurried us into the car. To my disgust, his mistress sat inside, legs crossed and glaring. But she was the least of my concerns. Thanks for coming, Greg muttered. But why did the police show up at my place? I don't get it. That's because I reported the camper van stolen, I answered evenly. His eyes widened. What? Why would you do that? It's obvious. The car was taken without permission. Greg waved his hands, scoffing. But between spouses, that's not a crime. You filed for divorce, remember? That makes us strangers now. Driving a stranger's vehicle without consent is theft. Ryan, as sharp as ever, nodded along. But I didn't steal it, Greg insisted weakly. I just borrowed it for a while. Is that so? Well, I need it back. Hand over the keys. I quietly finished dessert while listening to plans for removing investors who, in fact, were me, the silent partner at that very table. The priority, Richard concluded, is ensuring family wealth stays in true family hands, not outsiders, not temporary investors, not charity cases, only people who carry the Richard name. I extended my hand. After a long hesitation, Greg reluctantly returned them. Once I confirmed they were real, Ryan spoke up, his tone cutting. Why did you abandon your family just to run around with this woman? Greg froze, caught completely off guard. He scratched his head, awkward and guilty. His mistress smirked and cut in. Because I'm more attractive than your mother. Look at me, you can see it, right? He fell head over heels and left you. Be quiet, Ryan snapped. I didn't ask you. Dad, answer me. Mandy fell silent under his stern glare, but Greg said nothing. If you can't explain, that's fine, Ryan warned coldly. I'll just call the police back to arrest you. Wait, hold on. I'll talk, at last, Greg confessed. Mandy had joined his company 3 months earlier. They became close at a welcome party, and soon after, she was pregnant. Greg decided to leave his family and start fresh with her. And the camper van? I pressed. I quit my job and thought of selling it for cash. But you seem to use it a lot, so I figured we'd just take it on a trip first. Wait, how do you know all this? He asked suddenly. Do you remember when Ryan got lost on our hike? I replied. We bought him that kid's phone with GPS. We installed the same app on your phone too. I've known your location all along. Later, Ryan confessed to me that he had pretended to be lost that day, just so he could get the phone. I was stunned by his foresight. I knew Dad was hiding something, he said. That's why I set up this plan to monitor him. Greg stared at his son in disbelief. You're terrifying. I'll never be like you when I grow up. No, Ryan retorted. You betray people without a second thought. That's worse. Greg had no response. I looked at my son, only 10 years old, yet able to think so clearly and speak so firmly. His strength gave me my own. I couldn't let us lose. And another thing, I added coldly. Return the $20,000 you withdrew from my account. Now. That was our joint property. I don't owe it back, Greg said defensively. No, that money was mine. I saved it slowly, long before we married. You never held a job long enough to save anything together. Hearing how Greg and Mandy had squandered it made my stomach turn. At that moment, I realized just how far he had fallen. I felt relieved about divorcing him, but I warned. If you stole my car and used my money, that's a serious crime. I only told the police we would talk. I never said I'd withdraw the complaint. In fact, I'll have to add the theft of my money to the report. Mom, should I call the police now? I can do it with one button on my phone, Ryan offered. Greg's mistress, Mandy, who had been watching our conversation silently, suddenly tried to slip out of the camper van. At that moment, she let out a piercing scream. Standing right outside the door were her parents, their faces red with anger, ready to explode. Startled, Mandy stumbled backward as her parents shouted at her, "Ah, I'm sorry." "Don't be so angry. But why are you here, Mom and Dad?" "I called them beforehand," I explained calmly. "What? Why?" Mandy gasped. The truth was that during my hospital stay, Ryan had visited Greg's office and tearfully told them, "My dad left the house with a woman we don't know," and my mom collapsed. Seeing Ryan's fragile state, the staff at Greg's office immediately suspected Mandy. They told Ryan that Mandy had left the company with Greg, and even gave him her parents' address, Greg. And Mandy had always seemed too friendly at the office. And photos from a welcome party for new employees showed them together, looking like a couple. When Ryan learned from coworkers that Mandy commuted from her parents' house, I decided to visit them with Mandy's photo. Her parents came out when I arrived, and I told them everything that had happened. Today, I asked them to wait nearby, ready to confront her. "How could you do this to me? The worst betrayal," Mandy cried. "Don't say that to me." "That's my line," I shot back. "By the way, your stomach looks big. When is the baby due?" "In 3 months," she admitted. "Wait a second. That doesn't match up with when you met my husband." "You two only met 3 months ago, right?" Greg froze, eyes wide. What does that mean?" "Are you really that stupid?" I said coldly. "Pregnancy lasts about 9 months. That means the child she's carrying isn't yours." "What? Mandy, have you been lying to me all this time? Leaving me like this?" Greg stammered. Mandy sneered. "So what if I have? I almost got away with it. You're so gullible. You never see through lies. Really, such a fool. Don't mock me. My whole life is ruined because of you," Greg shouted, his face twisted in rage. An ugly argument broke out between the two of them, but no one intervened. We simply let them fight it out. Meanwhile, I called the police again to report the situation. As darkness fell, the forest park lit up with the red glow of patrol car lights. Greg broke down. "No, please, I was wrong. Truly wrong. I swear I'll work hard and never cheat again. Just don't let them arrest me." Ryan snapped back. "Dad, people don't change that easily, especially lazy ones like you." "Exactly," I agreed. "I can't trust you anymore. You need to reflect on your actions and pay for your crimes at the police station." "If I get arrested, how can I repay the money?" he pleaded. "I don't care. Pay me back after you've atoned for your sins. I've already found you a place to work. Between Ryan's child support and the $220,000 you stole from me, you'll pay it all back. It doesn't matter how long it takes." Then I turned to Mandy. "You might think you're just a bystander, but don't forget, you're an accomplice to Greg's theft. If he can't repay the money, you'll be responsible. Be prepared for that." Mandy shivered and begged her parents for help, but they refused coldly. "We disown a daughter who brings trouble to others," they said firmly. And so, Greg and Mandy were taken away together in a police car. Thanks to Ryan's sharp thinking, we had managed to punish both of them. Though they were released shortly afterward, they still faced hefty payments through my lawyer. I claimed $20,000 in damages, and Greg agreed to pay $500 a month in child support for Ryan. I arranged for Greg to work at a subcontracting factory linked to my company, where his wages would be deducted to cover both child support and the money he owed me. I also sold the camper van, freeing myself from the auto loan. Since then, my health has improved greatly. I'm full of energy again and committed to my work. Ryan has been a wonderful support, helping with chores and errands. From now on, I want to keep moving forward strongly, so my son can pursue the life he loves without ever having to give up. I quietly finished dessert while listening to plans for removing investors who, in fact, were me, the silent partner at that very table. The priority, Richard concluded, is ensuring family wealth stays in true family hands, not outsiders. Not temporary investors, not charity cases, only people who carry the Richard name.